In the business of filmmaking, if you own a camera long enough, sometimes you review gear. Let's review and learn.
I'll get an education today.
Hi, I'm James Powers, freelance DP and gaffer. Today we are reviewing the Orion 300. This is a full spectrum LED light and it is very impressive. This is from a relatively new company that goes by Prolycht, at least that's how I think you pronounce the name. The Orion 300 can be had for $1,950 US. To learn more, please click on the link in the description below. In full disclosure, I am not being paid to create this video, and I am sad to report I have to give this light back. I emailed Prolycht asking to review their Orion 300 and they gave me a prototype unit to kind of go over. But like I said, I have to ship this thing back and I wish I could hang on to it because I am impressed with the color quality and output of this light. In this video, we're going to compare the differences between bicolor light and full spectrum color light and the challenges lighting manufacturers face when they create those types of lights. And to better do that, we will learn a little bit of color theory and the science of measuring light. But don't worry, I'm going to make sure that is easily understandable by keeping it short and sweet. We will then compare the full spectrum Orion 300 light to the bicolor Aputure 300X and just kind of compare the general qualities of the light as well as the output that you get with different types of attachments. After we compare those two lights, we're going to look at the features of the Orion 300. So this includes some of the compatible attachments that you could add to the Orion 300, as well as the general performance of the light. So we're looking at output, color quality, build quality, and some of the pros and cons. Then we're going to wrap with answering the question, who is the Orion 300 for, and should you add this to your lighting kit? To understand light, we first have to know that in 1931, a bunch of French dinglings got together and made this chromaticity diagram. This diagram represents all color the human eye is capable of detecting. The chromaticity diagram is important because it shows us where white points are in our visual color system. White points exist along different correlated color temperature values called CCT values. White points are important because we program them into our camera every time we set our white balance. We do this so things that should appear white even when lighting conditions are poor. On the diagram, there's a black curve, and this is known as a Planckian locus or a black body curve. And this represents different white points or CCT values in the diagram. A Planckian locus takes any black body radiator, that's really anything that emits light when you apply heat to it, and it maps it across this curved line. This curved line represents white points in different color temperatures. Any deviation from this Planckian locus is measured in a delta UV. A delta UV that's positive indicates a green shift. A delta UV that is negative indicates a magenta shift. This curve and diagram is very important because it allows us to set our white points for our camera, so things that should appear white under different light. On paper, building a bicolor light really isn't that complicated. All you're doing is you're mixing two sets of emitters. One set of LEDs is set to a warmer temperature, kind of like more orange, and the second set has more of a blue, cooler feel. Now, when you want to go from, say, tungsten to daylight, all you're doing is you're varying the power between your warm set and cool set. Fading between two sets of emitters, one warm and one cool, creates a linear transition. This is a problem because we just discovered that color temperatures follows a curved path. Accurate correlated color temperature follows a curved path and not a linear path. Now, fading warm and cool emitters sounds great on paper, but the problem is there's no way around introducing a green or magenta shift. To help fix this, lighting manufacturers do their best to calibrate their linear mix to intersect the Planckian locus at common color temperatures like tungsten and daylight. Now, I don't mean to pick on the Aputure 300X. Any bicolor light source will have this issue like Godox or Nanlite. We're using the 300X as an example because it has a very broad CCT range. It ranges from 2,700 degrees Kelvin all the way up to 6,500 degrees Kelvin. On the warm end, the Aputure 300X uses LED emitters that are tuned to 2,700 degrees Kelvin. The Aputure 300X also has cooler emitters tuned to 6,500 degrees Kelvin at this end of the spectrum. Now, the 300X targets its bicolor linear fade to intersect the Planckian locust here at the 3,200 degree Kelvin tungsten mark, and again here at the 5,600 degree daylight mark. These two marks have a near perfect white point. Awesome. So at tungsten and daylight, you know your light's white point is fairly accurate because it's right on this Planckian locust. Now, what happens if you deviate from 3,200 degrees Kelvin? When you enter a value lower than 3,200, you are deviating from the Planckian locust. And in doing so, you're going to give the 300X a slight green hue to the light's output because it now has a positive delta UV. When you fade between tungsten and daylight, you are deviating away from the Planckian locust, and in doing so, you're going to introduce a very slight magenta shift to the light's white point. So let that sink in. So we're covering a lot of ground here, but the important takeaway is bicolor lights are only a partial solution to creating accurate white light at different white points. The Orion 300 has 6 different sets of LED emitters that allow you to adjust your green or magenta bias when you're trying to hit an accurate CCT value. So now the fun stuff. Let's compare the Orion 300 to the Aputure 300X, and for fun, I threw an Aputure 300D Mark II just to give you a sense of how bright all three of these lights are. So for these comparisons, I am using each light in daylight mode at 100% power with the standard reflector. Our measurements are 410, 700, and 900 foot candles. The Orion 300 is significantly brighter than the Aputure 300X. The 300D Mark II is a tad brighter than the Orion 300, but the 300D Mark II is daylight balanced only. Keep in mind, the Orion 300 is a full color light. It's a full color LED light that uses 6 sets of LED chips that are red, green, blue, amber, cyan, and why not lime. The Orion 300 intelligently blends together all 6 of these colors to create a beautifully accurate white light at any color temperature you select on the ballast. The Orion 300 also uses the same Bowens S mount as the 300X, and to maximize the brightness, we'll be attaching the Aputure 2X Fresnel unit set to spot. On the 300X, we metered 1,300 foot candles. And with the Orion 300, we metered a whopping 1,800 foot candles. The differences between the Fresnel attachment and the stock reflector dish are staggering. It is still clear the Orion 300 is significantly brighter by 500 foot candles when using the 2X Fresnel attachment. The Orion 300's strongest attribute has to be its color accuracy. Let's compare the color accuracy at 6,500 degrees Kelvin with the Orion 300 against the Aputure 300X set to full brightness. The Aputure 300X had a delta UV of positive 0.0020. This means that the light has a noticeable green shift to its color. And again, any delta UV of plus minus 0.0024 usually requires a 1/8 correction gel. The Orion 300 has a near perfect delta UV score of negative 0.0003. This is impressive because we are outside of the common daylight color temperature and the light does not have a green or magenta shift unlike the 300X. The most common modes I use on the Orion 300 are CCT and HSI mode. In CCT mode, you get a very broad range from 2,000 all the way to 20,000 degrees Kelvin. You could also select a plus minus green tint. The feature I loved most in HSI mode is the ability to set your color temperature. This is massive, not a lot of lights offer this. If you press in the intensity selector, you could then choose from 2,000 to 20,000 degrees Kelvin for your white point. In the main menu, when you add your saturation, you're adding color to that base color temperature that you just set. This is a very strong feature. On a recent music video shoot I got a little crazy and rigged the Orion 300 to a menace arm that was then mounted to the bed of a pickup truck. It was here I discovered the header cable is only 9 feet long, and that meant I needed to mount the ballast to the menace arm. This made operating the light challenging because now the ballast is in a hard to reach location. If there was an extension header cable, this would fix that problem. Once everything was set up and dialed in, Philadelphia-based DP Adam Hribar instructed our talent to ride their bike just behind the lantern so they glide in and out of the soft light. We were very impressed with the quality of the light, and here are a few clips from an upcoming music video featuring the Orion 300. I really wish I could rap and ride a bike at the same time. Let's talk about the pros and cons, starting with the cons first. I'd mentioned that the header cable could be a bit longer. That would make rigging the light a little easier. But if Prolycht released a header cable extension, that would kind of solve for that. The other issue is the selector knob is hypersensitive. So if you are dialing in a very specific setting and remove your hand too quickly from the ballast, sometimes that setting changes and it gets a little frustrating. But maybe Prolycht could patch that with a firmware update, or I could just take my time when I'm dialing in a specific setting. Now, those are two really minor points when you consider all of the strengths of the light. This light is incredibly bright and color accurate, which is very important. The flexibility of the light is impressive. You could use all your favorite Bowens modifiers on this. I personally like using the lantern and the Aputure 2X Fresnel attachment. The other thing to mention is the build quality. The lamp head is made from all metal. There's no real plastic on the lamp head. This light is durable and will survive on a film set. So let's get at it. Who is the Orion 300 for? And the answer is simple, not a beginner filmmaker. This light is a perfect addition to a lighting kit that you already own. I would not get this light if this is your first significant investment in a light. Now, this light is for anybody looking to add color to their lighting kit that they already have. Because of the brightness, color accuracy, and flexibility of the modifiers you could put on it, this is the perfect addition for a filmmaker that kind of already has their basic lighting kit. So there you have it. We covered an incredible amount of ground, and hopefully we know a little bit more about color. If you want to see more of this content, please remember to like and/or subscribe. And if you have a question, please leave it in the comment section below. Thank you for watching. Another perk is the menu system on the ballast. It is incredibly easy to access, so easy a child could do it.